Are you at your point where you think you've hit your bottom, or maybe that there's just no way you're ever going to feel like things can change? I was like that. I really was. And I want you to know, my name is Bromo, by the way. I want you to know that there is a way out. Please join us for my podcasts.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
Time. Hey, good morning. Actually, it's morning out here. It is the 2nd of February. There is a way out. My name is Bromo, or Dave, however you want to call me. My sobriety date is 2/17/09. My 15 years coming up, which, by the way, we always have to say if we get there, but my favorite day is coming of the year by far. I am an alcoholic. I am not an expert. I don't have any credentials or anything like that. I just have life experience. My hope is for this podcast, for anyone who's on the edge, or for anyone who thinks they may drink too much, if they have a family member or friends or anybody, I just would love if you pass that on. Maybe somebody could listen to it and figure out that there is a way out. With my own experience, and my guest, Steve Sapp, is on the phone with me from San Diego. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing tippy-tappy with a song in my heart, as we used to say.
How is the weather out there? You getting some more rain?
You know, we're having that liquid sunshine that we like in Southern California. A little bit too much of it, but, you know, we always need rain in California. You know that.
Well, here's the thing about Steve. Steve and I go way, way, way back. He was a rock. He was a icon in the radio business. When I was in the radio business in San Diego, he was at a country station, and he was well known for all of his fine work. We didn't meet until a little later on, and you'll hear that story in a bit. How old are you, if you don't mind telling I know you're retired, you lucky dog.
Well, semi-retired, but I just turned 70 last week.
Oh, sorry about that semi-part. Congratulations on that. All right. Well, way to go. I think I sent you a happy birthday thing, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did.
All right. So he's 70. What do you mean by semi-retired? You work at a golf course, right?
Yeah, I got bored when I retired from all of my other stuff. So I work at a golf course. I'm the marshal some days. I'm the starter some days, and sometimes I just hang out there some days.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, this golf course where he works at is beautiful. It's one of the most gorgeous golf courses in San Diego, and San Diego's got a ton of them. Every corner, every street corner's got one. And with the weather you guys get out there, you can pretty much play all year round, and that's a given.
Yeah, except for today.
Are you going to get rain today, or is it too much rain out there?
It's raining. It rained yesterday, rained today, and I just checked on the circumstances of the course today, and the front nine's closed from all the water and the runoff, and the back nine's open, but it's cart path only. So I'll just be sitting at home watching the crazies out there, still hitting it, whacking the ball around.
So no slip and slide out there, huh? You could open the front nine as a slip and slide.
Pretty much, yeah, especially number 6.
All right, so Steve was in the radio business when I was years ago. He was an icon out there, and why don't you let everybody know a little bit about your story, if you want to, how you began to get into the world of drinking was your deal, right?
Yeah, like a country song, it was a drinking thing.
Yeah, I'm not a big country fan, but you don't need to hum that along.
I know. No, I like to say I had a really good life until it wasn't.
Yeah.
I grew up in northern Arizona in Flagstaff on a ranch. Had a great life. Had did 4-H and high school, junior high sports, skied, and so I didn't have any kind of a bad childhood bringing up or raising or anything like that. So that wasn't the issue. I managed a bar in Flagstaff for 5 years before I moved to San Diego. There was really, I drank probably daily, but just like a couple of cocktails at night with get off work, come home and have a couple of cocktails.
Yeah.
Just kind of, I think I was feeding the animal that was already there probably, if you're looking back at it.
Yeah.
And
right.
then working in radio, there's, as you well know, there's plenty of opportunity to find a party somewhere or make a party somewhere.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of that too. And I know I've heard you talk in some of your previous podcasts. You toyed with marijuana a little bit in high school, as I did, and then in radio messed around with some other stuff, but nothing really serious.
Actually, I'll stop you on that. I would smell funny things, but I never smoked marijuana in high school. It was one of those things where it is today, where I guess drugs are more prevalent. You see it all over the place. Maybe that's what kids tell me these days. But pot was something that was hidden around the corner back then, and I never dabbled in it. But go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you did. But anyway,
No.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, but as you say, now it's everywhere. I walk outside down the street of the Ramona, and you smell it everywhere. You just kind of go, "What? It's everywhere."
Right.
But anyway, that's another point. So working in radio, and then having a good time doing that, partying. Every once in a while getting to rub elbows with the big stars and stuff like that.
What was your radio name? Tell everybody what was your radio name.
I was the Sapper.
Give me a time check in the call letters just for our. Oh, come on,
no.
Come on, play along a little bit. Give us just give us a quick example.
It's 6:33. It's 27 minutes before 7 o'clock on the Walleye.
Okay, thank you. Hey, you're hired. You're hired.
Oh,
He did it perfect. He said 6:33, which is San Diego time, 27 minutes before the top of the hour on the Walleye. Perfect. Way to go. All right, continue, buddy.
And then, after I worked at the country stations for 20 years, working my way up, I like to say, and it's really a stupid saying, but I like to say I was climbing the corporate ladder until the top rung broke off.
Man, that is not a stupid saying. That's pretty accurate.
I was on the air for 5 years, and I decided I was never going to become a highly paid morning guy like Bromo,
Right.
Or in San Diego, like Jeff and Jer or Dave Shelley and Chainsaw. I wasn't going to get one of those morning gigs.
Right.
So I was on the air, and I decided when the promotion and marketing manager position or director position opened up, I put my name in for it, and they said, "Yeah, perfect." So I became the promotion and marketing director and the manager of the radio station.
Yeah.
And still climbing the ladder. Then we bought a couple more stations, so we had 3 or 4 stations. I was the manager for all of those, the promotion and marketing manager, and just kept doing what I was doing. Setting up promotions, making promotions for the stations, advertising for the stations, staying busy until one of the times when we got purchased 3 different times by different companies, and the last company that purchased us went through and they decided to dissolve my position.
Yeah.
They didn't fire me; they dissolved my position.
Yeah.
And this is after 20 years of blood, sweat, and tears there. So it crushed me. I mean, that's all I can say. Crushed me.
Yeah.
And then, of course, after 20 years in radio, and you say I was an icon, but I couldn't find a damn job. I couldn't. I spent the next 6-8 months. My job was trying to find a job. I was on the computer looking for jobs, 8 hours a day, and falling into a pretty bad depression.
That weighs heavy on you, doesn't it? It's quite it's a bombshell, isn't it?
It was horrible, and some of my friends were still out there trying to help me out, but just nothing was happening, and you start feeling I got no self-worth. I had all this time in radio, and now I can't even find a job. So I dilly-dallied in a couple of things. I sold some things door to door, and just stupid things, and
I have to stop you. I have to stop you right there. I had heard that you were selling lingerie, and you look pretty damn good in it.
Well, I almost went there, but no, they wouldn't even hire me for that. They wouldn't even give me that job.
Go ahead.
My depression was setting in, and of course, feeling sorry for ourselves. Oh my God, I feel sorry for myself. Woe is me, poor me.
Yeah.
Pour me another one, as they say.
Yeah.
And so, my daily drinking of a couple of cocktails a day after work pretty soon started escalating, and I worried a little bit about myself, and I said, okay, well, I'm sitting at this computer looking for jobs. I'm not doing anything. I live in Ramona, which is, it's about an hour outside of San Diego.
Right.
So I was up here kind of isolated, which you recognized later on in my story.
Are you married at this point?
Oh yeah, well, I was still married. I've been married to the same lady, thank God, for 45 years this year.
No, I know about that, and congratulations. But you were married at that point. I just wanted everybody to hear your background on that. You had a couple of kids at that point.
I was married with two beautiful daughters,
right?
And
yep.
They were getting worried about me. They
sure.
were talking to me and worried about me.
Oh, were you getting those looks, and they were watching you in your funk, drinking more and more?
Yeah, they started really worried about me, and then my wife would tell me, because what happened is I would stop. I wouldn't drink before 5 o'clock, and then I said, okay, well it's 3 o'clock. I can have a cocktail.
Yeah,
I became a clock watcher, and then I said, okay, a couple of beers at noon, and they just went from there. And then pretty soon you're hiding the bottles and hiding from your family,
sure,
and sneaking drinks wherever you can. And so my family, they were worried about me. My daughters would write me letters because they couldn't talk to me. My wife would write me letters because in her letters, which I still have all of these letters, saying, read this in the morning when you wake up, because I can't talk to you at night because you can't remember what I talked to you about.
Wow,
you're so drunk.
Yeah.
And my daughter, and they brought up the A word. You're an alcoholic. So to fast forward through that part of the story.
Well, let me stop you real quick. You said you got those letters still, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Do you look at them from time to time and realize how far you've come? Do you look at those from time to time and realize how close it is that we could all slip? And do you realize the letters you have are real gold, and they bring back memories that are either A, awful, or B, awful, and yet they tell you how far you've come? It's inspirational, isn't it?
I do have those letters. I've got them in a little file that every once in a while I'll be going through my stuff, and I'll come up to them and I'll read them, and I will never ever throw them away, because I got them from both of my daughters. I got them from my wife.
Sure.
I got one from my little sister in Montana.
Yeah.
Saying that she was worried about me because my kids and my wife were talking to my other siblings. Yeah. And so of course I keep those, and I keep all the stuff to get ahead of myself a little bit, when after you and Co had taken care of me and I was starting to journal, I keep all those things because my handwriting was so pitiful I couldn't even write.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when it was bad, but that's a head in the story a little bit. So my wife and my kids are worried about me. I'm saying, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And finally they just said, you're gonna have to do something about your drinking.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll show you. And here's where it gets fun. I'll show you. I'll quit drinking. I'm not an alcoholic. I'll quit drinking. So I quit after quite a few years of drinking every day, and then quite a lot of time of drinking a lot, feeding the devil.
Yeah.
I quit drinking cold turkey, and oh my God!
Did you really quit?
I quit cold turkey one day, and it was the worst. I tried to detox at home before I even knew what detox was.
Yeah.
I went into the DTs. I had shakes. I had visions. I saw things. I was running around, and just a couple quick things. I was running around with a vacuum cleaner in my living room, chasing ants.
Yeah,
that I saw.
That's a real thing.
Family, don't you see these? This is what's going through when my body and brain is detoxing when I quit cold turkey.
That's a real thing.
These ants are everywhere. They're everywhere. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. I had told in one of my podcasts, when I had gone to detox, I had such a bad episode where I was seeing spiders crawling around on the wall. I went over and looked outside. Remember API in La Mesa?
Oh, yeah.
I looked through their stained glass window, and I thought I saw soldiers outside carrying guns looking at me through the window. And I remember when I was going so crazy, losing my mind, they put me on a big, huge blanket and lifted me up in the air. And my counselor at that point had told me a couple days later, she thought I was on the verge of wet brain. Is that something you think you may have been on?
I didn't even know what the term was until after I started into recovery. But yeah, I probably was pretty close.
Wow.
I had the same experience as you, because after the ants in my living room, I'd see spiders.
Yeah. And
then the weirdest thing is I had a really nice house in the backyard on each side of the pool were really beautiful, tall, like 25, 30-foot tall palm trees.
Yeah.
And I literally saw monkeys climbing in them. I saw kids trying to put Christmas decorations on them. I saw kids trying to cut them down.
Wow.
These are all things that I saw, and I was running around trying to lock the doors. I lived on a cul-de-sac, and I had a policeman, a SWAT officer, and a sheriff that lived on the cul-de-sac with me. And I would call these guys and say, "Hey, there's kids running around my house. They're trying to get in. They're trying to get in." And my neighbor would come over, check on things, say, "Steve, I don't see anything. I don't see anything." And after about 10 times, seriously calling him 10 times to come over and see these things that I was seeing, he quit answering the phone.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, the DTs were bad, and this. So fast forward to another couple of days of this going on. Denise called the ambulance. They took me to the hospital to detox under medical care.
Right.
And it was bad, but I came home and I was doing a lot better. I came home to my family after that. They were cautiously welcoming me back home.
Yeah.
I didn't drink. I started going to AA meetings up here in Ramona. And, of course, I had that newcomer's attitude because I thought my stuff didn't stink.
Oh, I know.
I walk in and I'm looking around. I'm going, I'm not these people.
Yeah.
I'm not like you people. I'm better than you. And this is all in my head. Of course, I didn't say it.
Yeah.
And when you introduce yourself at an AA meeting, you say, "I'm Steve, alcoholic." Yeah. I didn't do that. I did for the first 90 days. I would never call myself an alcoholic.
Now, why? What?
Because
was it your
pride?
Because
I didn't think I was one.
Yeah.
It was my pride. It was my pride. I didn't think I was one. I didn't think I was one of those people. I'm not like you. Yeah. I just, I would just drink. I was a bit of a heavy drinker that I got out of hand.
Yeah. Were you pissed off? Were you like, good grief, would this meeting hurry up and end? I'm sick and tired of hearing all these stories of woe is me.
No, I didn't, because I didn't listen.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
I didn't pay attention,
right. Yep.
And there was one old guy named Bill. I still remember his name. It wasn't the Bill, but it was this guy named Bill.
Bill.
And he tried to take me under his arm. He tried to help me out. And he's the one who gave me my first 90-day chip. And that's when I finally said, "Steve, alcoholic."
Yeah.
But I still didn't believe it.
Yeah.
So I was going to AA meetings for about 6 months, kind of going through the motions because my family wanted me to.
Right. Yeah.
And after 6 months, I thought, gosh, I've got this. I don't need to come to these anymore. I'm sitting in the jacuzzi with my wife saying, "We're doing okay." She's happy for me. She's proud of me. And I decided at that point in time that maybe I really wasn't an alcoholic. Maybe I just had a heavy drinking problem.
Yeah.
And that I was okay.
Yeah.
So as soon as I had that thought enter my brain, you can imagine what happened.
Yeah.
Started drinking margaritas in the hot tub, and as people have learned, and as I learned the hard way, once you've quit and you've got like a little bit of sober time, and you decide you can handle it, oh my God, you fall down that hill faster and farther than you ever thought was possible.
Yeah, it's the most incredible thing. We'll talk about that in a bit. When you think to yourself, probably you haven't gone through the book like everyone else did, but when you come across that line where it says, look, I'm pretty sure now I can drink like a gentleman. Nope.
No. And of course, going through those 6 months of meetings at AA, I think they gave me a book. And I remember using it on my bed nightstand as a coaster.
Yeah.
which is as close as I came as reading it.
Yeah.
I seriously, I didn't take it seriously. I didn't do anything. I didn't quote do the work. Didn't get a sponsor. Didn't do the steps. Didn't do anything but show up.
Yeah.
I didn't even suit up and showed up. I just showed up.
Yeah. Well, why would you want to? I mean, because you had a beautiful place. You were at a beautiful wife, kids. They had seen some growth in you in the recent times, and so everything's good. Get back to it slowly.
Yep.
But it doesn't work that way, does it?
No, because after 6 months of sobriety, and I decided that I wasn't an alcoholic and I could drink again, and I started drinking, and again I didn't start off heavy. I just had a couple margaritas in the jacuzzi or whatever, and then pretty soon I'm just going down. It's a slippery slope, and I was falling down it fast.
Yeah.
That hole got deeper, and it got harder and harder to get out of. And next thing you know, I'm back in the hospital at detox because my wife was coming in my bed. I was checking me out. I was again seeing things.
Yeah.
I was unresponsive when she was trying to talk to me.
Yeah.
And she called the paramedics again
Yep.
to come back to my house, and they took me to the hospital again and detox for another 5 or 7 days, medical detox. This time, it was bad. It was bad. I was probably pretty close to not coming back.
This is the vicious circle, man, kicking in twofold.
Ugh. So after detox, and this is where Bromo comes in, and he will deny this to his dying day, but Bromo had a huge hand in basically saving my life.
All right, is this the point where you are brought over to Coast?
This is the point where I'm going to get ready to go back to my house after the hospital.
Okay. Yeah, I want to know this part.
Ramona.
Yeah, I want to know. I want to know what brought you to Coast. Did your wife and you decide that? Go ahead.
Well, from what I understand, because you're still pretty incoherent even after detox. From what I understand, by the grace of God, my other radio friends of mine, Brian Main, you, and other people said, you probably shouldn't go back home again because you're just isolated up there an hour out of San Diego.
Absolutely.
Your kids are away at college. Your wife goes away every day to work because then you're going to be all by yourself, the same thing, and you'll start doing what you did before. This is what the consensus was. I'd start doing what I did before.
Yeah.
Sneaking drinks, hiding drinks, drinking. And I've jumped over so much of the time when my kids would find me sneaking drinks.
Oh, yeah.
Hiding bottles in my bedroom and stuff like that. I jumped through all that.
That was my path.
So anyway.
That was my path. Yep.
So anyway, Co and a bunch of other radio friends, several other radio friends, and you got me out to Co's house, which was where you were living at the time.
Yeah, now I want to stop you real quick, and I want to tell everybody, first of all, in one of my earlier podcasts, I had told you that these angels, Co is one of them, had saved me from going back to my place in Mission Beach. This is the house that Steve is talking about. When I first saw Steve, this is the first time I've ever met him, I believe, Steve. I'm almost positive. I saw you get out of the car, and you could barely walk. I think you had a cane, didn't you?
I had a cane. My muscles I had a bad knee. I've got a new knee now, but I had a bad knee, and my muscles had atrophied so much. I was just so bodily weak and worn out. And just I don't know if you can cuss on this show or not.
No, try not to. It's okay.
I was bad.
He was a wreck, and let me tell you, if I can remember right, Co and I, we took you to some meetings in El Cajon, and was it our idea, along with your wife, to introduce you to Freedom Ranch?
We were all looking for a place for me to go, even before. I think the first time I tried to get sober, we were looking at places, and we kind of looked at the Volunteers of America. Never even heard of the Freedom Ranch or Pathfinders or any of those places.
Yeah.
So when I was at Co's house with you and Mitch, we started thinking about places to go. Went to a couple meetings. I went to church a couple times with you guys, and the Freedom Ranch came up. And I had never ever heard of it.
Yep.
So I went out there. I think I can't remember if you took me out there or Co took me out there or Denise took me out there, my wife.
Yeah. And
went out there and did the interview. They said they'll get back to me as soon as they can. So I had 23 or 27 days at Co's house.
Yeah. And this was the place. This was Freedom Ranch where I went. So I was an alumni telling him all about it. Remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's your heaven on earth, I think you call it.
Well, and there we were on a couch one night, the night that they shot and killed Osama bin Laden. Remember when they announced that? It was in May, something like that, right? Yeah. That was the night before you got all your stuff, and we took you to the Freedom Ranch. Yeah.
Took me to the Freedom Ranch, and again, I still had my cane. I was still, even though I was 23 or 27 days out of detox at Co's in your house.
Yeah.
And walked in with my cane. I became not a joke, but it was a little private. They called me Dead Man Walking. That's how bad I looked.
Yeah, these were the guys at Freedom Ranch calling you that, right?
Yeah, the other residents there, the people who were there for the same reason. But I was the oldest guy there. That was 13 years ago, 12 years ago.
Yeah,
I was the oldest guy there. I'm really in bad physical shape, and I was a dead man walking. I remember walking after getting assigned to my room, walking to the first AA meeting at the Freedom Ranch from my room to the long room, which was, probably a 100-yard walk.
How would you explain that meeting room?
I fell down.
How would you explain that meeting room? Kind of like a cabin?
Well, it's a long room. It's just it's like a long cabin. It's like a skinny gymnasium.
Yeah,
it's just a really long room. It's just chairs set up and a coffee machine in the back, the obligatory AA coffee machine.
Yeah, it's within like 50 feet of the main house. And you said you fell down on your way to the meeting, huh?
I fell down. I was walking with my cane, and I fell down. And it happened to be a visitor's night, and my roommate's girlfriend picked me up and helped me walk the rest of the way to the meeting. And that was my introduction to the Freedom Ranch and AA as it was going to be done then for me.
How long did you stay there for?
I stayed there for 4 months.
Well, here's what I remember, and if you don't mind relaying this, and you can take over with the story. I remember there was a time when you were really having a rough time there, and I had gone through the same thing when I was in my Freedom Ranch time. A time where you sit on a bench, you look down on the ground, and you go, "What am I doing here? Where's my life going? My life is going nowhere. I'm a loser." All this stuff. Brian Main and I went out, and I remember he picked me up. We drove out there, and we sat with you at a bench. I can go over there and point out the bench today. And Brian said some wonderful things. I tried to give you some inspiration, and you were down. You were down, pal. You were beat up.
Well, and again, I still had that attitude like I had when the first time I tried to go to AA, was I'm not like these people.
Yeah.
I don't belong here. In fact, I used the words, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
Again, I was the oldest guy there, and I was a white cracker boy. There were people there with tattoos that scared me.
That's right. That's right.
The police van would pull up every once in a while and unload 3 or 4 guys out of jail with their orange suits on, and they'd walk in to get some clothes from the clothes closet. That's
right.
And I'm just going. I'm not like these. I still at that point in time, after 2 times in detox, 2 times coming close to saying goodbye to everybody, I've still got this attitude that I'm not like these people. I don't belong here. And then when you and Brian were there, and I remember Brian said this, I think you said this, and I know for sure that Mike, who was my counselor, the head guy there at the Freedom Ranch, when I would say that, he'd go, "This is right where you belong. Steve.
Yeah.
This is right where you belong.
Yeah.
It's exactly where you belong." And it finally started fitting in. I started. There was a track there. Remember the track there at the Freedom Ranch out in the backyard?
Yes, I do.
I walked that track every day, and I walked that track with my cane every day, and I just tried to do a better time every day as I was physically recovering. Because, it takes forever to detox. You can go to the hospital and detox, but you're still not detoxed from alcohol for a long time. It takes about 90 days, 90 days, because alcohol invades every cell and every pore of your body. It just gets into your brain, it gets into your skin, it gets into your cells. So when your body's saying, when you're trying to quit, your body's saying, "You're not quitting. I still need you. I still want you."
Yeah.
So you'd have to get physical exercise, mental exercise. So as I was walking that trail every day, I would just have little conversations with God, talking to him, in my head, saying, "What are we going to do? How are we going to do this?" And I finally started realizing that, this is exactly where I want to be, where I need to be. Not necessarily want to be, but where I need to be.
Yeah,
and once I started getting that, and I got a sponsor that co-helped me find, got a sponsor, and started actually looking at the steps and reading through it. And I still remember vividly reading the book and finding myself in so many of the stories. I'd read the stories in the back of the book, and I go, "God, that is me.
Yeah.
That is exactly like me."
Yeah.
And so you come to the realization. I finally came to the realization that, Steve, it's this way or the highway, pal. You got to make a decision to turn your life over, to get things taken care of, to do what needs to be done, or you're not going to be around here. You're not going to make 70 years old.
And here's the thing, if I can interrupt you again, and I know you as a person, and I know you as a character, as a top-notch guy, as you were staying there, day after day went by at Freedom Ranch, people began to love you and respect you, and you turned that corner and you respected them and loved them, and when that 4 months was up, how was it? How did you make that decision to go to Pathfinders? Had you heard from me that I had said, hey, that should be your next stop?
Well, a lot of the Pathfinders would go. A lot of the Freedom Ranch people would go to Pathfinders because it was a good next stop. Because the Freedom Ranch is out in the middle of nowhere,
Right?
Out in the middle of nowhere, so you can't really do much. I mean, you could try to walk away from there, but San Diego's a 2.5 hour walk, or 2.5 hour. It's an hour and a half drive.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how far of a walk it is.
Yeah.
If you walk the wrong way, you're walking across the border into Mexico.
Right. That's right.
So the natural progression, if you're still not quite sure, or you don't know for sure if you're ready to face the real world, you transition to Pathfinders in the middle of San Diego.
Yeah.
Almost downtown San Diego. So
Right.
all of a sudden you went from the middle of nowhere to real life all over again.
Golden Hills, with a beautiful place and some beautiful streets.
Cars, and we weren't allowed to have a car at the Freedom Ranch. So here you are at Pathfinders. There's cars, there's streets, there's bars and liquor stores on every corner. And now's the time. So can you really make it in the real world?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to. I wasn't sure I wanted to go to Pathfinders. I mean, yeah, but I did. My 4 months was up, and I did want to get out. I did want to leave Freedom Ranch. It was time for me to go.
Yeah.
So I went home.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You went home. That's right.
I went home, and my application was in at Pathfinders. I was waiting for it to get accepted in, but I went home back to Ramona, to isolation.
I remember
and
this.
And you freaked out. You said, I'm sure you thought to yourself, this is the worst thing for him to do. So you called your pals at Pathfinders.
Yeah, I did.
Said, this guy needs to get in.
Yeah, I did. They accelerated it kind of.
Because he is up in Ramona all by himself again, where he was before all this stuff happened.
That's right. I forgot.
I kind of got the fast track into Pathfinders. I went down one day to a meeting.
Yeah.
And walked in to talk to the intake coordinator. And he goes, "So what are you doing tomorrow?" I said, "Well, I'll be coming back down for a meeting."
Oh, that's right. They got you in quick. That's right.
He said, "Well, if you're going back down to the meeting tomorrow, bring your stuff because you're moving in."
That's
really
awesome.
Already?
I remember this. I think
it was like less than a week or maybe a week.
Yeah.
So I got, and sometimes you think that there's angels watching over you, and you're one of my angels. And I got back in. I got in the Pathfinders where I remained for a total of 9 months. So this is 14 to 13 months in rehab, in recovery.
Right.
But I didn't waste my time there because I went to work. I mean, I did the work. I did the job at the Freedom Ranch. I did my steps. I did my fifth steps. I did my my list of things to make amends for and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at Pathfinders, I was given a job with responsibility early on. I became a resident monitor, and then after that, I became the assistant program director. And I was giving back as we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I was giving back to what was so freely given. I was helping out people. I was working the office. And at that point in time, and taking a real quick step back, when I was in college, I wanted to become a counselor. So, not a drug counselor. I wanted to become a school counselor. I always wanted to help people. So now, fast forward to back where I am now, I see the opportunity. I can become a counselor. I can help people in more ways than just sitting in this office. So I went back to school after 40 years of not being in school. I went to school to become that they used to call a drug and alcohol counselor. Took the classes, took the test, passed the state exam, and got my certification. And that was what was that? That was 2013 or 14. About 10 years ago, I got my certification to become a drug and alcohol counselor.
Unbelievable.
Now it's called a substance use disorder counselor.
Yeah, fantastic. Let me stop real quick and just mention again that these are the paths I took without the schooling that he went. I went to Freedom Ranch, very gritty, very raw, and then I had gone on a list, but I wasn't accelerated in like Steve was. But I went to Pathfinders, which is all of a sudden out in the city and the hustle and bustle, and they would take you to meetings across town in a van, and there's a bar within about 400 yards you can see from the patio from the front, from the first house. There's more luring and there's more things you can possibly get into out at Pathfinders but now you're a little bit more advanced. You've been around it a little longer. Look what Steve did. This is where, when he continues with some of the questions I'm going to ask him, this is when this guy leaps and bounds became my hero, because not only was he an officer, a monitor, manager, whatever you call it, because I was one too, just for a little bit, but when he got out of there, we want to talk about when he came back to Pathfinders with a paid job, and he was in charge of all the men. How many men go at that time, Steve, were going to Pathfinders? I was trying to say on my podcast earlier, but I never had a figure. How many would you guess? 40, 50 men?
I think we had more than that. I was going to say, no, it was less than that, yeah, because the Freedom Ranch had 50.
Yeah.
So we had like 40 men, yeah.
So Steve now is a manager. Steve now has got his credentials. Steve is now he's doing the intakes. He's interviewing people. He's got all this experience from the time that when he was going through it. Now, what was it like, and what is it like still, when you see someone come in raw and green and hungry and beat up and torn up? Isn't that, first of all, like seeing a mirror of your old self? This is where I respect you the most. Your job saved lives. And I'm going to repeat that again. Your job saved lives throughout the years, through men who came in through the house, graduated, went on. Probably a lot of them we won't hear from again because they're living their lives. Some of them probably have come back to say to you, dude, you remember me when I was in the house? Oh, sure. You freaking saved my life. How does that feel?
You got me speechless there.
Yeah, I talk too much. Sorry. I mean, I just have every little bit. I have every ounce of respect for you.
The feeling is, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable because working there, I would see myself coming up those stairs. I would see myself, like you said, a mirror of myself. Working there, I saw people I was at the Freedom Ranch with who were doing good and I respected, and who fell off the wagon.
Yeah.
And they were coming into Pathfinders to try to start again. And I would say there, but for the grace of God go I. You know, they at least were coming back and trying again. And yeah, we had a lot of successes. But then we had people who didn't make it.
Yeah.
And I keep track. I have a log of people who I know didn't make it. I have a lot of respect for people who did make it, who I have some in one way or another helped through their early or later recovery. I stay in contact with them, and you're right, not to toot my own horn, but I've had several of them say in text and in person and in letters to me, Steve, you saved my life. You really saved my life.
That's incredible.
I text as many of those guys that came through Pathfinders that I can, but I still can't stay in contact with them. I have their sobriety dates, and I call them or I text them every year for their sobriety date and remind them just how proud I am of them and how happy I am for them. And I've been in the past 2 years, I've been to 3 of their weddings.
Wow. That's awesome.
And
that's so cool.
And just the feeling I get when I see how far they've come it's pretty amazing.
That is first class awesome. I have to say, people have said to me, in the past, they would say, hey, that was a real funny bit that you were on the other day. We were driving down the road. We heard you, and you're awesome. You're hilarious. Thank you. That would make my day. I'll tell you, if I get anyone that says to me, I remember being in the Freedom Ranch in the second row, and you came out and spoke years ago, and I'm still sober, and I kind of take that as that is the greatest compliment. Not like I had anything to do with the guy's sobriety, but that to me is what I love to hear the most out of anything these days. Out of anything.
Well, and I'm going to interrupt you because you had more to do with people's sobriety than you give yourself credit for. You had a lot to do with my sobriety. I've heard you speak at meetings. You are a fantastic speaker at meetings. You throw in a lot of lightheartedness, but it's all very serious stuff. And yeah, you have had your hand in a lot of people's changing their ways, and you cannot downplay that. I don't care if you want to say that you didn't do anything or not. You had a big hand in saving my life, and you've done the same with others.
Well, I appreciate
that. The fact that this show here, I know that you've always wanted to get back into the recovery field in one way or another, and this is it. This is what you're doing right now to help people who don't know what to do, who don't know how to, or are afraid to take that first step of saying, "Hey, can somebody help me here? What do I do?"
Well, this is my strength, Steve. I'll tell you what my strength is. Not my story, not my podcast. My strength is having my podcast and putting people like you on who can share. I had Nicole on 2 days ago. I had Eric who talked about his meth and how he got out of jail and how he saved his daughter. And he's been sober now a couple of years. These stories that I'm going to have from other people are really what AA and really what sobriety is all about. Wouldn't you describe your journey as the most unbelievable thing you've ever been in your life?
Oh, without a doubt, because as I mentioned, when I was going to college, I wanted to become a school counselor, and it got back to, all the radio fun I had, and I missed it for what it used to be, but it got me back where I am now, and still I'm not working actively in the field, but again, I still stay in contact with my clients with my friends from Pathfinder and the clients I had later on in the Family Health Center when I went to work there. I stay in contact with them, and it's part of my life now. It is part of my journey. It's part of my story, and I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I still, every time I tell him on the phone, every time I get him on the phone, I remind him of the growth that he went through, of the unbelievable from walking with a cane and being completely, the attitude of I don't belong here and, I hate this, or not necessarily that, but screw this, I'd rather just not go to these, to all of a sudden be in charge of 50 guys, being in charge of other people who come in for intakes, who interview for the chance to have their life saved by a beautiful place like Pathfinders, which I had mentioned to everybody. It's a 9-month deal. Was it still a 9-month deal out there?
The whole recovery field has changed a lot. It's more of a 90-day deal, but if you continue to do the work, you have an opportunity to move into one of the other houses, which is a sober living.
Oh,
so
that's right.
Still,
that's right.
But it's still a place of miracles. That's for sure.
It really is. And you know what? The last time I went out to San Diego, one of the last times I went out to San Diego, I went to a banquet. Remember that? It was and this was one I don't think that you were at. This was down by the water. They flew me out and they gave me a nice, really, really beautiful crystal award. And I actually hosted this Freedom Ranch thing. And I fondly thought of all the times we had, once a year, we had our Pathfinder banquets where alumni from Pathfinders and the guys in the house currently that were in the house were part of it. And they'd have a really nice dinner and give away door prizes and stuff. Are they still doing that, I hope?
Pathfinder's Homecoming, again, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I think that they still do some things. Just so much has changed now because of
government stuff.
Well, to continue the work of recovery, it costs money, and you got to get some money from somewhere. So you got to the county has always been involved with their money for payments for helping to keep the place open. But now we've got a lot of people who are dipping their fingers in there, saying, "Here's what you got to do. Here's what you got to do. Here's what you got to do."
Yeah,
and not to. I hate to even say this, but not to belittle or whatever what we did, because we did ours through AA. AA saved my life.
Right.
AA saved your life.
Yeah.
But when I became a counselor, I found out if there are people who are just really against AA, there are other ways to get sober.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do now in the recovery field, is just expand the opportunities to people. Whether it's, okay, you don't want AA, you don't want to say that there's a higher power out there that's going to help you.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this? Cognitive behavioral therapy or other things. So there are other ways. It just AA, I will always say, AA saved my life. Pathfinder saved my life. The Freedom Ranch saved my life. Bromo and Co. and Brian saved my life. But if you are totally against the AA, if you think it's some sort of weird cult, which some people think it is, there are. But if you're serious about wanting to get sober, we'll find another way for you.
Whatever works, right? Whatever works and whatever changes your life around.
Whatever gets you into some kind of new outlook on life, that things can be better, things can change, but you got to do the work. No matter whatever it is, you got to do the work.
Remember Tim the cook?
Oh, yeah.
You know what always used to... Let me just tell you a thing that always used to make me mad until I confronted him about it. And then years later, it made sense what he would always say. Remember how we had those little house meetings? And Tim was in charge of our house meeting at House 2. So we'd all get together once a week, and he would used to say, listen, I know I'm going to drink someday, but for now, I'm relatively sure I won't. And I'm like, you know what? Why would you say that? Why would you have that stupid attitude? Why don't you go drink now? And I remember he'd nod and grin and look at me like, dude, you're not getting it. Because the fact is, you're not sure tomorrow, the day after. But for now, I'm relatively sure I'm not going to drink. Really, for many people, the hardest part about giving drinking up is thinking, because my sister used to say this to me, you know, you can never drink again, right? I know. I'm on the phone, and I'm trying to go ahead to detox, and I'm getting my stuff ready to go. You know, you can never drink. I know. That is the hardest part about surrendering to the fact that you can never drink again. And
exactly.
You know?
And that's why we say in whatever program you're in is one day at a time. Because just the fact of saying never, that's hard to jump over. You know, I never really. And in fact, people who know, people I work with and people I hang with, they know that I'm in recovery. I'm an alcoholic.
Yep.
And they say, "Do you miss it?" And I say, "Not really. I don't really miss it." And they say, "Well, do you think you could drink again?" I said, "I don't know, but I don't want to try."
Perfect.
Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Why would I ever do that? Because I don't miss it. So why would I have a drink? Because I may be able to. You know, Bromo, I could maybe go out and have a couple of cocktails or a couple of beer. I could maybe have a beer on the, as I'm playing golf.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So why would I try? Why would I tempt myself? Why would I ever think about, oh my God, here we go, back to the hospital again in 2 months, probably, if not dead.
And you know what you said, Steve, earlier? This is what I had marked in my brain to talk about now that we're almost done with this. And I appreciate your time so much. You had said, quote, you can go 20 years, you can go 25 years, you can go 10 years. When you drink, it comes storming back, even worse. And that is the most amazing, frightening, eye-opening thing. I remember when I, had done my time of being sober, my little time sober, and I drank and relapsed. I came back tenfold, way worse.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the creepy part. They even say that in the book when the guy went and took his shot of milk and he hadn't drank in years and he saw one of those bleeping signs, buy me, and he took one shot or two shots. 2 days later, he blacked out and went into the hospital. That's how deadly the disease is.
It comes fast and hard. I just say the hole gets deeper and harder to get out of every time you relapse. And again, so I tell my friends, why would I? Why would I ever even think about tempting myself for that? Because at my age, I probably would die.
Let me ask you one last question. If you can't see this person who's going to be listening, you can't see our audience, but let's say there's one person that's just almost fed up. Their life has been torn apart. They've watched things crumble. They lose their job. Relationships are now gone. And they have a chance to listen to this right now. What would you say to that person?
I would just say, just surrender. You're going to have to surrender. Call somebody. Look up AA in the phone book. Look up AA online. You can, wherever you are, you click on AA meetings in my neighborhood, and they'll be bouncing up all over the place. Talk to somebody. Ask them what they think that you need to do for help. Don't talk to your drinking friends because they're going to try to talk you out of it. Oh, you're not that bad.
Yeah.
You're okay. You're just going through a rough spell. There's help online. There's help on the phone. There's an AA Central. Walk into a meeting. And the thing about and so many people, including I'm not going to go there, but so many people I know say I don't want to go to AA meetings because of the attitude I had. I don't belong there, or I'm going to know people there, and I don't want to be embarrassed. I'm going. If you go to an AA meeting and you know people there, duh, they're there for the same reason you are.
Exactly. Exactly.
They'll welcome you. They'll go, hey, Steve, God, good thing, I'm glad to see you. It's about time.
Yeah. Welcome home, brother. Hey, Steve, it's really
home.
It's really been an honor for me. You made my Friday. I love listening to you talk about this. Again, you're one of my heroes for doing what you did at Pathfinders and saving so many lives. No, I'm not going to stop. Remember, I got the buttons over here. I can turn your volume down.
You can turn me on and off anytime you want. Right?
Well, that's a different story. When I go out there and golf with you, I'm going to kick you around the golf course. I know.
We'll see.
Listen, I just wanted to thank you as a good friend for letting our audience hear your story. It's just magical.
Well, Bromo, thank you for inviting me along. Anytime. This is I think the second time I've been on your show before.
Yep.
And I love you like a brother. And anytime you need something, just, you got my number.
Thanks, buddy. You hang on right there with me, all right? All right. That's how beautiful this is. There is a way out. For people who may be listening to this for the very first time, you just heard an incredible story of survival, of conquering your demons, of moving on with life. Again, my name is Bromo. Thank you so much. I enjoy it. I enjoy having you with me. Remember, again, there is a way out.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.